June 27th, 2017, 10:30 a.m. Across Ukraine, computer screens freeze mid-sentence. Banking terminals go dark, power grids blink offline. Government servers collapse. Within the headquarters of A.P. Maersk, the world's largest shipping conglomerate, something impossible is happening. 76 port terminals across 6 continents shut down simultaneously. Entry systems fail, phone networks die, loading cranes freeze mid-lift. 1/5 of global trade stops moving. The screen displays a ransom demand, $300 in Bitcoin to unlock your files. But there's a problem. The payment system doesn't work. The decryption keys don't exist. This isn't ransomware. It never was. Grab your popcorn, comment below your country and the time you are seeing this video. Rewind to early 2017. Eastern Ukraine. For 3 years, Ukraine's shadow conflict has been grinding through the Donbas region. Russian-backed separatists fight Ukrainian forces. Ceasefire agreements collapse daily. But another war is already underway, one fought without bullets. In December 2016, unknown attackers crippled Ukraine's financial infrastructure using malware called telebots and black energy. Banks froze, transportation networks stuttered, energy grids flickered. The attacks traced back to a group called Sandworm, an advanced persistent threat unit operating under GRU military unit 74,455, Russia's military intelligence service. Sandworm had already earned its reputation. In 2015, they shut down Ukraine's power grid, plunging 230,000 civilians into darkness. But those attacks were surgical, targeted, contained. What they were planning next would be different. M.E.Doc is not a weapon. What it's accounting software, used by nearly 80% of Ukrainian businesses to file taxes and manage financial records. Mundane. Essential. Trusted. Somewhere in early 2017, Sandworm operators identify M.E.Doc's update servers as a perfect vector. The company's servers haven't been updated in 4 years. Security patches are non-existent. On April 14, 2017, attackers compromise employee credentials and gain silent access to M.E.Doc's infrastructure. They insert a backdoor into the software's legitimate update file, a .NET library called zvit published objects.dll. The backdoor is subtle. It masquerades as routine traffic to M.E.Doc's own servers. It silently harvests data, client names, legal entity identifiers, email addresses, SMTP credentials. On May 15th, they update the backdoor. Now on June 22nd, just 5 days before the attack, they update it again. M.E.Doc's own system is now a weapon pointed at every business in Ukraine, and no one notices. The attack begins at 10:30 a.m. local time. M.E.Doc pushes a routine software update to its 400,000 users across Ukraine. Embedded inside is NotPetya. It looks like ransomware. It demands payment like ransomware. It even mimics an older ransomware strain called Petya. But security researchers quickly realize the truth. NotPetya doesn't encrypt files to hold them hostage. It destroys them. The malware overwrites the master boot record and master file table, rendering entire hard drives unrecoverable. The ransom note is theater. The Bitcoin wallet is a dead end. NotPetya is a wiper designed to obliterate data, not monetize it. And it spreads like wildfire. And NotPetya doesn't rely on human error. It uses EternalBlue, a vulnerability in Microsoft's SMBB1 protocol, developed by the NSA and leaked by the shadow brokers months earlier. EternalBlue allows malware to jump from machine to machine across a network without needing passwords or user interaction. It's the same exploit that powered WannaCry just weeks before, but NotPetya has additional tools: stolen credentials, token impersonation, remote execution via SMB. Once inside a network, it enumerates every connected device, scanning for open SMB ports, 445 and 139. It copies itself to remote machines via admin dollar shares and executes. Within hours, NotPetya escapes Ukraine's borders. It infects multinational corporations with Ukrainian operations: Maersk, FedEx's TNT Express subsidiary, pharmaceutical giant Merck, the French construction firm Saint-Gobain. Even Russian state oil company Rosneft is hit, collateral damage in a weapon designed for maximum disruption. The Chernobyl nuclear plant's radiation monitoring systems go offline. A Pennsylvania hospital loses patient records. By nightfall, NotPetya has circled the globe. Inside Maersk's headquarters in Copenhagen, panic sets in. The company operates 800 vessels, 76 port terminals, and handles 20% of global shipping. Now, every single domain controller, the servers that authenticate users and control network access, has been wiped. Without domain controllers, Maersk cannot process bookings, load cargo, or even identify which containers are on which ships. 18,000 containers per vessel, and no way to track them. Ports from Rotterdam to Los Angeles turn away trucks by the tens of thousands. The company is paralyzed. Then someone remembers there's a remote office in Ghana. A junior IT administrator checks the logs. One domain controller, just one, is still online. It's located in Maersk's Ghana office. By sheer coincidence, a power outage had knocked the Ghana server offline moments before NotPetya reached it. The malware swept through Maersk's global network, encrypting 45,000 PCs and 4,000 servers, but it never touched Ghana. Maersk dispatches an employee to physically retrieve the hard drive. He flies from Ghana to Nigeria, hands it off to another staffer who carries it to the UK. That single hard drive becomes the seed for Maersk's entire recovery. Over the next 9 days, engineers work around the clock to rebuild the company's IT infrastructure from scratch. Every laptop is wiped clean, every server re-imaged, every password reset. The company estimates the cost at $300 million, though many believe the real figure is far higher. It takes 5 months for Maersk to fully recover. TNT Express, FedEx's European subsidiary, loses $400 million. Merck, one of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies, reports $870 million in damages. Hospitals delay surgeries, supply chains collapse, manufacturing plants idle for weeks. The total damage estimate, $10 billion. It is the most destructive cyber attack in history, and it began with a single, compromised accounting program. On June 30th, Ukraine's security service seizes equipment allegedly used to launch the attack. They claim it belongs to Russian intelligence. In January 2018, the CIA formally attributes NotPetya to Russia's GRU. In February 2018, the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense accuses Russia directly, stating that the attack targeted Ukraine but spread globally due to its indiscriminate design. Russia denies involvement, pointing out that Russian companies were also affected, but the forensic evidence is damning. Cisco investigators find a web shell, a hacking tool, planted on M.E.Doc servers months before the attack. They trace backdoor updates to April, May, and June 2017. The attackers used stolen credentials, manipulated server configurations, and wiped evidence from backup servers hosted in France. Every digital fingerprint points to Sandworm. In October 2020, the U.S. Department of Justice indicts 6 officers from GRU military unit 74,455 for their role in NotPetya and other global cyber attacks. The indictment lists their names, ranks, and operations. None of them will ever stand trial. Sandworm had spent years quietly infiltrating M.E.Doc's infrastructure. They had built a backdoor into software used by hundreds of thousands of businesses. They had the ability to deliver arbitrary code to 80% of Ukraine's economy and any multinational corporation operating there. It was an intelligence asset of incalculable value, and they burned it all in a single day. Cisco's investigators note the concerning reality. Sandworm sacrificed a long-term espionage capability for one destructive strike. The question remains unanswered. Why? NotPetya forced governments and corporations to confront an uncomfortable truth. Cyber attacks are no longer criminal nuisances. They are acts of war. The UK Foreign Office explicitly labelled NotPetya as a Russian military operation designed to disrupt Ukraine's economy. The attack's indiscriminate design, spreading far beyond its intended targets, proved that modern cyber weapons cannot be contained. M.E.Doc eventually cooperated with investigators, but by then the damage was done. Ukrainian prosecutors promised the company would be held accountable for its negligent security practices. Maersk rebuilt its entire IT infrastructure, every machine, every network, every authentication system. The company never paid the ransom. There was nothing to pay for. The decryption keys never existed. NotPetya wasn't ransomware. It was a geopolitical weapon disguised as one. A single software update, a stolen password, like a 4-year-old server vulnerability. These mundane failures cascaded into $10 billion in global damage. The malware spread through the same NSA exploit that powered WannaCry weeks earlier. Governments stockpile cyber weapons, hackers leak them, criminal groups and state actors weaponize them, and the collateral damage spreads across borders, industries, and continents. In the end, NotPetya proved a simple, terrifying reality. In cyber warfare, there are no neutral bystanders, only victims.